Hi everyone, welcome back to ESPC here in Prague. And my name is Dux. And
Beatriz.
so how do you find the conference so far, Beatriz?
Oh, amazing. Actually, it's going beyond my expectations, I have to admit. Amazing content, amazing conversations, amazing people. I'm really, really enjoying it. And most of all, this amazing view.
Amazing
view,
right?
yeah. This is, well, tops.
So Beatriz, why don't you tell everybody, quick background of yourself, who you are, why you're here, and why you're excited about this event.
Sure. So I'm the CEO of Fine Tuning. We are a company working in modern workplace solutions for SharePoint, Office 365, and also Microsoft Teams. We're here exhibiting, so we're sponsoring the conference. We're always looking for, new conversations, new customers, new partners. I think it's been a great turnout so far.
Now, speaking of conversations, earlier today, Beatriz and I had a wonderful conversation around diversity, inclusion, and belongingness in the tech sector. For those that don't know, yesterday is the International Disabilities Day, is that correct? UN was promoting that and Microsoft was talking about it. And I think this is a very important topic that's near and dear to our hearts, but also it should be very important to everybody watching this. So maybe Beatriz, to get the conversation going, I want to kind of break down what diversity, inclusion, and belongingness mean, because sometimes people think, oh, it's all the same thing, right?
No.
So the analogy I use is this. It's simple, but it works. I talk about diversity is inviting people to the party, right? So you invite all kinds of people to your wonderful party. But then once you're in the party, I'm sure you've been to a lot of parties, it doesn't necessarily mean that you feel like you're included, right? You may just be sitting there, nobody's asking you if you want to drink or do you want to dance. So to be inclusive, it's like asking people to dance, right? So that's you're including people to come and join you and partake in this fun experience. And then belongingness is you're so comfortable that you're dancing as if nobody's watching.
Wow, amazing analogy. Yeah, I loved it.
Because
never thought of it. But
because if you think of everybody as family, no judgment, you'll dance like crazy, and people have a good time. They're not going to judge you.
So true.
So that's how I think about diversity, inclusion, and belongingness.
Amazing.
Now, in that context, how do we bring that back and think about it in our industry, in our world, especially in light of International Disabilities Day yesterday?
Well, let me just take a step back.
Sure.
We have been talking about maybe diversity and inclusion very much in the focus of women in technology traditionally. So that used to be a problem probably when I started my career in technology, like 20 years ago, right? We used to be
you were 8?
Thank you.
But
so I used to be, if not the only woman at the table, like there were a couple of us.
Right.
And during those times and during these years, that's been a very, very important topic.
Sure.
I think that we are at the point where we have overcome that topic. So women, they're really a part of technology life these days.
Sure.
We also went beyond to thinking about inclusion and diversity in technology, to bringing and making sure that people from different ethnicities or
religion,
countries, exactly, that they would also have a part on the conversation, and that they would have a similar part, like everyone else. I think that right now we are still missing a very important point, which is making sure that people with disability, physical disability, actually also have an important part in this technology world.
In one of the cool things too, in the past couple of weeks, I had a great conversation at the Big Ignite around, other than physical disabilities, it's neurodiversity, where some people, while it may not be visible or physical, where they would have things like dyslexia, ADHD, color blindness, exactly, or mild retardation, where they have phenomenal capabilities, but sometimes individuals may feel like, oh, I shouldn't be talking about this, or I don't have a place in tech because I have this type of disability, right?
So true.
So I think this is a turning point for us, especially as folks already in tech, as leaders, to drive the awareness and open up the conversation to be more inclusive in that. And not just talk, right? I mean, why don't you tell everybody about your thoughts around your company and how you think about being inclusive?
Yeah, so I really think that more than just raising awareness, and that is absolutely important, obviously. But more than that, we have to make sure that in our companies and in the software that we produce, that we are reflecting those concerns and that we are making others people's lives easier and that we are making them really inclusive and that we are creating inclusive software. So that has been a concern for me for the past months. And within our company, we are also more than thinking, we're actually planning and having actionable items on our list of how we can change our software to make sure that everyone is able to use it, you know, like in the best way possible, and that we have a positive impact in people's lives every day.
You know, a good example, a role model for this, obviously, is Microsoft, right? So, if, in case you don't know, Microsoft's mission statement is to empower every person, every organization in the world. And while they certainly talk about it, they're building inclusivity into their product. So, for example, I'm sure you know about Xbox. So last year, they released an Xbox controller that's inclusive to people with disabilities. And I think it was last Christmas, they had this ad where there's a young child. I think his hand was, he didn't have the right hand or something, but he was still playing Xbox, which is cool.
And it was amazing that they rethought the control in a way that it only has like 2 huge buttons, so that even people without fingers can actually use it by using their elbows or some other part of their body.
In a comfortable way, right?
Yeah. So that is part of our responsibility as influencers or as software creators or as hardware creators every single day. I think that we are getting to a point where everyone has to have a seat on the table and everyone has to be able to use software and hardware like all the rest.
I mean, another example, and I think a lot of you, especially in our ecosystem, may be familiar with. I'm sure you know about Microsoft Teams. You know, one of the feature in Teams is the blurring background, right? So when it first came out, Beatriz and I had the same thinking, like, oh wow, that's a cool feature, right? If you're working from home, you can blur your background, just like that BBC reporter, so you know you won't see your kids running in. Or if you have stuff in the whiteboard, right, you can blur it. But the origin of that feature was because I believe one of the engineers at Microsoft had dyslexia, and when they're doing video meetings, especially if there's a lot of stuff, it causes, I think, confusion, right? Or distraction. So they decided, how can we use machine learning and AI to intentionally figure out what the background is and blur it so they can focus more on the person they're talking to?
You know that I just saw a video last week because I've been actually investing a lot on understanding more about disabilities in software. And I just saw a video of a child that was colorblind. And colorblindness is something that is very, very common. So probably you guys don't know, but if you start asking your company, you will realize that there are tons of colorblinded people. And the video was all about a kid whose teacher gave him glasses that actually make him see color.
Oh,
so
wow.
that exists.
In the first time, right?
Yeah, first time. So first time in his life that he was seeing color. And you have no idea. It's touching to the point that you're crying because that kid was, you know, so touched by it. He was crying all over for seeing color for the first time. And for a colorblind person, we may think, oh yeah, it's just that, you can see color, it's fine. But it's not. So it actually affects their lives. And such as this, there are tons of other types of disability or impairments that actually limit the way that people enjoy life and how they can actually enjoy software.
And I think that's one thing that's exciting about what we do. We're in technology. Because we can make a difference. We can do something about it, right?
Yeah.
Another great story is, have you heard the story of Emma? So there was a Microsoft engineer out in UK. Her name is Haiyan Zhang. So she loves to tinker, and she wanted to solve this problem of Parkinson's, people with Parkinson's disease being able to write.
Oh, yeah.
So if you have Parkinson's, your hand shakes. And so she came up with a device called Emma. It's a bracelet. So once you turn it on, it will detect you're shaking,
and it will control it.
It will counter the shaking. So imagine if you're shaking this way, the bracelet will counter it. So your hand would be steady. Look this video up if you can. Look at Emma and Parkinson's, and you'll see the video, like the first time she was able to write. And she was crying. She's like, this is the first time I can write my name. And her name was Emma.
Wow.
So they called the device Emma.
That's beautiful.
So it's just so powerful that you're right. We as makers, we're in a position that we could do something about it, right?
Right.
With the power of technology.
And we are fortunate enough, not to have any limitations. And we can't assume that that is true for everyone else.
That's right.
So I strongly urge everyone to look
Right.
around and to think more about others and how you
Right.
can actually embrace the entire community
Yeah, that's
and
right.
embrace everyone.
And I think along that line, so number one is inclusive design, inclusive software. I think the other part around this area is inclusive talent hiring or talent
Oh, yeah.
recruitment, right? So a lot of times, we think differently, like, oh, we want to hire a rock star or this person
Yeah.
that's like number one coder. But we fail to think about that. We have a lot of great talent that may have, certain types of disability, but it doesn't affect coding. It doesn't affect the way they design, right?
If you think the smartest person that lived in previous years was Stephen Hawking.
Stephen Hawking, exactly, right? And
Yeah.
you see a lot of great thinkers out there. They, have some form of what we consider today as disability,
Yep.
right? So I think we should open up our talent pool and talent recruitment to look for people like, regardless of who they are, what their background is, as long as, they can fulfill the job role, why not? Yeah.
Very true.
So awesome conversation. I encourage everyone. I mean, the best resource for this is check out Microsoft. Just go online and look for Microsoft Diversity Inclusion Resources or Inclusive Design.
Yes.
And I think yesterday for...
Yeah, Microsoft just tweeted yesterday about International Day for People with Disabilities. So there's a tweet with a very specific link that will drive you to a different page. And there are tons of resources in that page that will help you get more aware of these issues and how you can
Sure.
actually help.
And hit us up. We're on Twitter and LinkedIn. Connect with us. If you have questions or ideas or thoughts about this topic, we would love to hear from you. But other than that, thank you, Beatriz.
Well, it was a pleasure. Thank you.
All right. See ya.
Have a
Bye.
great conference.